Today we're talking about how to correct a blood sugar imbalance. So in the previous video I discussed what a blood sugar imbalance is. So if you're confused about what a blood sugar imbalance is, then skip to that video first and then come back to this one. That video is linked below. So we're going to talk about how to correct a blood sugar imbalance. The good news is there's lots of different things that you can do, and diet and lifestyle both come into play here. So diet, first of all, the first and key thing is to cut out refined sugars and refined carbohydrates from your diet, or at least significantly reduce them. So if you've watched the previous video, then you'll know that it's carbohydrates and sugars that directly affect our blood sugar levels, and so when we eat them, that's when we have this spike in our blood sugar, which leads to a crash in our blood sugar. So cutting out those sugars is the most important step. So if you haven't done that yet, then you need to do that. And when I say refined carbohydrates, I mean any carbohydrates that have been processed. So we're talking about bread, we're talking about pasta, we're talking about white rice, we're talking about cake and biscuits, those kinds of things. But it's also worth noting that even good quality carbohydrates, if you're eating a lot of them, like a big plate of brown pasta or a big plate of brown rice, they're still going to have a fairly significant impact on your blood sugar as well. So it's not only about the refined carbohydrates, but it's also about not having too many carbohydrates in general. So cut down on your sugars and carbohydrates. Number 2 is to make sure that your meals are balanced. So your meals should be based on proteins, fats and fibre. All of these things slow down how quickly you absorb sugars from your meals. So when you do have carbohydrates or sugars, make sure you have them with some protein, fat and or fibre. So that will slow down the absorption of sugar and stop you having such a high in your blood sugar levels. So basically what that means is that you should be basing your meals on good quality meat and fish, lots of vegetables, and add in some good quality fat like olive oil or coconut oil. Step 3 is to try having some apple cider vinegar. So a study showed that having apple cider vinegar before a meal slowed down the release of sugar into the bloodstream by 50%. So that's really significant. So have some apple cider vinegar before a meal, maybe try having a tablespoon in just a teeny bit of water, and then have that as a shot before your meal, or put apple cider vinegar on your meal, but make sure you put plenty of it on there. Then we've got lifestyle, so exercise. So this is twofold. So first of all, if you haven't got enough muscle mass, then you won't have such good sugar stores, and that means that when your blood sugar does come down lower, your body won't be so good at bringing your blood sugar level back up again, which is what it naturally does. So having more muscle mass will help your body to regulate its blood sugar better, but also being active, when we're moving, we're burning up the sugar in our blood, we're using it for energy. So being active regularly throughout the day will help to keep your blood sugar more balanced. And the second lifestyle factor is stress. So would you believe it, stress can affect your blood sugar levels. So when you're stressed, what happens is your stress hormones are released and circulated around your system, and that stimulates the production of blood sugar, or the release of blood sugar into your bloodstream. So when that happens, what we've evolved to do is either fight or flee. It's that fight or flight instinct, and that's why we need sugar released into the bloodstream, so that we've got fuel ready to fight or flee. But the problem with that is that these days when we're stressed, we're not running from a tiger, we're sitting at a desk or we're sitting in traffic, and so we don't actually burn up that blood sugar. And so that means that we end up having this high in blood sugar from stress levels, which leaves us having a crash down in blood sugar. And that's why sometimes when you've been particularly stressed, you can feel quite shaky afterwards. That also feeds in with why stress makes it more difficult to manage weight, because when you're chronically stressed and your stress hormones are chronically high, that means your blood sugar is chronically high, and you're prone to developing something called insulin resistance, which is basically where that insulin hormone that sweeps up the sugar into your blood cells becomes less effective, so your body is producing more and more of it to do the same job. And because insulin is our fat storage hormone, you can probably understand that's not a good position to be in. So those 5 things again: number 1, cut out refined carbohydrates and sugars, and make sure you're not overdoing the overall quantity of carbohydrates. Base your meals on protein, fats and fibre to keep your blood sugar balanced. Try having apple cider vinegar before a meal to reduce the impact of the sugar on your blood. Exercise, make sure that you are working on your muscle mass and that you are moving regularly. And finally, stress. Make an effort to actively manage your stress levels and actively relieve your stress levels. So I hope this video has been helpful for you guys. As I've said, if you haven't watched the previous video, which is about what a blood sugar imbalance is, then do go back and watch that. That's linked below. Make sure that you subscribe if you want to keep seeing this content, and please do give me a like to help other people see that this is a good quality video. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all real soon. Bye bye.